Hey everyone, I'm Alan Schimmel, founder of TechStrong Group, and I'm thrilled to be presenting today at the Commodore AI SRE Summit for 2026. We've been working with Commodore on this summit now for a few years, and they do a great job, and I'm really thrilled to be here, not just for presenting what I'm going to present, but for listening and learning from what we're going to hear what we've heard all through the day and we'll continue to hear. We're certainly living in interesting times. AI has kind of changed everything, especially in the tech world. And if you're an SRE or a platform engineer or DevOps person out there, security person, it's already having a profound effect on what you're doing. I'm going to be presenting today this is the first time I'm presenting on this particular topic. Bear with me, but I call it, if AI writes the code, who runs the production? Because there's a shift coming to AI-driven site reliability engineering, or as we move into the age of AI SRE. Let me start it off with a little opening here, right? For the last 25 years or so, the rhythm of building software has been really familiar. Developers write code, CI/CD pipelines, test the code, get it ready for deployment. DevOps teams ship it. Well, DevOps teams maybe not 25 years, but the agile, the DevOps thing is 25 years old. And when something breaks in production, it's what we now call the SRE team gets the pager call, right? I remember it was the on-call team, the help desk. We didn't always call it the SRE team. This model, it's changed. We've changed some of the names, but over the last 25, 30 years, it's held up remarkably well, all things considered, as systems have become more distributed, more cloud native, and more complex. But something's changed in this last 2-3 years, and you know what that is. It's the big AI. Developers aren't writing all the code anymore. Increasingly, they're working alongside their AIs that are actually generating the code. We estimate 41% of the code being generated today, almost half the code being generated, is written by AI. We're seeing tools like GitHub Copilot, Claude, OpenAI Codex, others accelerating development waves beyond what we've seen, right? There was always sort of a natural break in the system. How much code can people write, an average engineer? How much code can we test? How much code can we deploy? How much code can we monitor? But as where I sit here at TechStrong, I talk to engineering teams every week, and it's the same story I'm hearing almost everywhere. As the amount of code we ship, as the development velocity has gone up, maybe 2x, 3x, 4x in some cases, we're shipping new features in existing apps. We're shipping new apps, new services. Almost overnight, we've blown up the amount of code that we're working with. It's great, right? Anybody could be a builder. Anyone can code. We're going to have all of this great functionality. Sounds great until you stop, or you're stuck as an SRE, or you're living in this pipeline, or you ask yourself a simple question. If AI is helping developers create so much more software faster, what does that mean for the production systems that we run it on? What does it mean? Right? It's the theory of constraints. When you break through a bottleneck, generally there's another bottleneck after that, and another bottleneck after that. And that bottleneck we're hitting right now is we've got all this new code, all these new apps, all these new features in production. How the heck are we supposed to manage it, monitor it, fix it, observe it? Because at the end of the day, to a certain extent, more code means more complexity, more dependencies, more microservices, and yes, more bugs and vulnerabilities. The truth is, we're about to enter a world where software is being created at AI machine speed, and our production environments are still being operated mostly by humans. And that mismatch is a bad situation. It's a bad result. The industry hasn't wrapped their heads around this yet. If AI writes the code, who runs production? And that's the question I want to talk about with you about today. As I say here, moving on to our slide, this is where we are. Software is now being created at machine speed. AI coding assistants are, as I said, writing almost half the code. Developers are producing more code than ever. They're software engineers. They're not even coders for the most part. And then on top of that, this didn't come on a green field. We already had microservices, cloud native architectures, multiplying components. We had really complex systems that we running at what for us at the time was really fast speeds. It was all we can do. But this new era is way, way beyond that, right? We're entering an era where the amount of software being created is exploding. The reality for my SREs out here is more services equal more failure points equal more work and more complexity. Complexity is already winning. It was winning, I think, before the AI stuff came out, right? We had distributed architectures, as I mentioned, thousands of different services and dependencies and microservices, massive telemetry streams. We're logging everything and analyzing metrics and AI, ML, and traces. Most of us, we were already under alert fatigue. We already had investigation overload. The reality, my friends, is that understanding incidents already required almost the full level of our human ability to investigate. Something's got to give, right? We were barely we were running as fast as we can and barely keeping up. But now more code means more problems, as I mentioned. AI accelerated development has totally changed the scale of what we're seeing, right? We've got even more services, even more dependencies, even more configuration drift, more security vulnerabilities discovered. Let's not even talk about Mythos and Glasswing. And we might be seeing this vulnerability apocalypse where we'll see 100x, 1,000x more vulnerabilities discovered over the next months. There's a good reason why Microsoft's Patch Tuesday this month had 167 fixes. The same month that Glasswing came out. The bottleneck is no longer even finding vulnerabilities. So we removed two bottlenecks. Number one, the amount of code we can put out here. Number two, the amount of vulnerabilities we can find in that code and all the old trillions of lines of old code that's out there. So now the next bottleneck, again, theory of constraints, if you're familiar with the Phoenix Project or the goal, which the Phoenix Project is sort of based on. The next bottleneck is fixing them fast enough. We can't fix them by hand. That's for sure, right? Traditional incident response remediation, it's going to break under this scale, right? We used to have, we'd get an alert, we'd do an investigation, we'd go check the logs, find the root cause, and hopefully fix it. Sometimes that would take 60, 90, even 120 days because there were multiple systems involved. We had to have cross-team coordination, testing. These investigations can take hours, days, maybe more. When we're seeing code being developed at this rate, vulnerabilities being found at this rate, humans cannot do this. You can't expect human speed to match machine speed. It just doesn't work. So I know a lot of our lives out there are not great. We're spending hours correlating logs, metrics, and traces to try to figure out what happened. And by the time we do, we're 5, 10 vulnerabilities behind. That pile, it's like an ever-growing pile that we never seem to bring down. So what's the answer for us, right? What can we do here? To a certain extent, the same thing that caused the breaking of the bottlenecks, bursting through the dam at both code creation and vulnerability finding, has to be our helper here as in our response. We need AI. So I think that's really the theme of a lot of what you're going to be hearing about and what you have heard about today. We now live in the age of AI, and so you have to become AI SREs. I don't mean you're going to be replaced. I know we're all afraid about AI taking our jobs and everything. I don't think that's the case with SREs. I think you're still going to need the SREs, and I'm going to explain why in the next slide or two. But let me first explain what I mean by AI SRE. We need AI SRE to change the workflow parameters, to change the workflow velocity, right? In this new world we're living in where code is fluid, code overwhelms us, vulnerabilities are, you know, exponentially more than we've dealt with before. We're gonna need this AI sort of workflow, AI SRE workflow. We need AI to detect these anomalies, vulnerabilities. We're gonna need AI to analyze the telemetry from our observability and telemetry systems to understand what's happening here. We're gonna need AI to identify the probable root cause. We're going to need AI then to propose the remediation. But I've been in security a long time. I've been in security over 25 years. No one signs up for just automated remediation. And that's where we need sort of the human in the loop, right? The human has to approve what the AI has found and what it's proposing and approves or at least not supervises because you're not going to scale to supervise, but approve a remediation. So AI accelerates detection, AI accelerates investigation, AI accelerates triage, but AI doesn't take the place of human judgment. Some people call this human in the loop, and I think that's a good name for it. But I think the way we have to think of it is AI becomes the first responder. Now, about human in the loop, though, the problem you have is that when we're talking about the scale we're talking about, I don't know if we're going to have enough humans to approve every single remediation, to look at every single triage. We're going to need, and I've seen this already starting to come, companies announce this. We're going to have one AI that checks the other AI. So like we have multi-cloud, we're going to have multi-AI. And that'll give us a higher degree of whether what the first AI is proposing is correct. The second AI can look at it. And then instead of human in the loop, we're going to have something that I call human at the helm, one level up. So instead of a human approving every remediation, a human will look over at the approved remediations. And if there's something that pops out, we'll work with this, right? And we'll look into it and we could dig in. This human at the helm really brings us to the next sort of iteration of where I think you all are going. Some of you are probably already there, and that's platform engineering. Platform engineering enables this human at the helm, right? Because with platform engineering, we could build the guardrails in for our automation. We could build the guardrails in for our multi-AI remediation and approvals. Platform engineering provides standardized deployment paths, policy enforcement, automated remediation frameworks, rollback and containment mechanisms, because that's what we're going to need with human in the loop. So really, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about platform engineering becoming the control plane for AI-driven operations. And without it, this whole thing just will not scale, way too risky, and we're going to have a lot of problems. So, I recently saw a CNCF survey about, I forgot what the number was, but maybe 25% of companies have actually a formal platform engineering team. If this is the new reality we're going to have to live with, right? More code, more vulnerabilities, more triage. that number has to double and triple. And I think it actually does. I think a lot of us have platform engineering teams, platform teams in our organizations. We maybe just don't call it platform engineering. But this is where we need to go. Just get to this next level, to operate at this scale, to operate at that speed. Platform engineering, the control plane for your AI-driven operations, for your AI SRE. Look, SRE, site reliability engineering. Let's not forget the R, reliability engineering, and that's what we're up to. I think the on call experience isn't unfortunately going to go away. So if you're going to throw away your pagers or so forth, or whatever you're using instead of pagers today, don't. Right? Because we still may see something like, hey, we're seeing a CPU spike on service cluster 17. But instead of you going to check it out, the next message you get may be, hey, the AI agent investigated the incident, root cause identified, proposed fix attached, approve remediation. We're moving from debugging to supervising automation. And in the near future, beyond that, AI 1 said that, AI 2 concurs and approved it. And you could roll it back or not as the human, but over time, and as you gain more confidence, you'll let it go. So what is that kind of workflow? What does that look like, right? AI investigates most incidents. The SREs, in this new age, are supervising the automated operations of this. Platform teams, putting in the guardrails, have defined the safe operational boundaries. It's a beautiful thing, right? Because if AI writes the code, AI is going to increasingly have to help run production. But the engineers who design and guide those systems will still be the same people who are watching this and attending us right now. So let me bring this back to the title and wrap up. For decades, the industry is focused on helping developers build software faster. But now AI is accelerating that process dramatically beyond our ability to scale as humans. Every line of code finds a home and eventually runs somewhere. Every service eventually hits production, pretty much. And when it does, someone has to keep those systems reliable, and that's you. The question we face now is not whether AI will change how we operate software. It already has, and if you don't get that, I'm sorry for you. The real question is whether operations teams will adopt AI fast enough to keep up with the software AI is helping create. Because as I said earlier, if AI writes the code, someone still has to run production. And increasingly, that someone might be an AI SRE working right alongside you in your room. Get used to it, embrace it. We can do this. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of today's presentations, everyone. If you need to reach us, I'm Shimmy on TechStrong. You can catch us at TechStrong TV, DevOps.com, Security Boulevard, Cloud Native Now, PlatformEngineering.com, TechStrong AI, TechStrong IT. Our app on our TechStrong TV app on whatever you watch on in terms of Amazon Fire Stick or Roku or Android or iOS. Enjoy your day. I'm Alan Schimmel. We're out. Thanks for listening.